Chapter 2. Mass is defined by man's gravitation. Mass is defined as a body of matter derived from the Greek word Maza, which means barley bread. For our flesh comes from the bread of this earth, for as the Lord said, "By the sweat of your face you will eat bread, till you return to the ground, because from it you are taken. For you are dust, and to dust you shall return." Genesis 3:19. And even when his people complained in the desert, the Lord sent them bread from the heavens. Exodus 16:3. Yet the bread of our flesh is just dust of the earth. For as the witness did say, man does not live by bread alone, but man lives by everything that proceeds out of the mouth of the Lord. Deuteronomy 8:3. And when Satan tempted Christ to turn stones into bread, he answered and said, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God." Matthew 4:4. For the true bread and word would dwell amongst men, for as he did say, "I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will not hunger, and he who believes in me will never thirst." But I said to you that you have seen me, and yet you do not believe. All that the Father gives me will come to me, and the one who comes to me I will certainly not cast down. For I have come down from heaven not to do my own will, but the will of him who sent me. This is the will of him who sent me, that of all that he has given me I lose nothing, but raise it up on the last day. For this is the will of my Father, that everyone who beholds the Son and believes in him will have eternal life, and I myself will raise him up on the last day. John 6:35. And the day before he was sacrificed on the cross, he gave the bread of his body that all men may live. Matthew 26:26. And when he returns, his servants shall be raised, but the bread of the earth shall mourn with the dead. Their bread will be like mourner's bread, all who eat of it will be defiled. For their bread will be for themselves alone, it will not enter the house of the Lord. What will you do on the day of the appointed festival, and on the day of the feast of the Lord? Hosea 9:4. And mass can be defined by inertial mass, which is defined as an object's resistance to change. And despite many warnings, man has resisted God's ways. Now therefore amend your ways and your deeds, and obey the voice of the Lord your God. And the Lord will change his mind about the misfortune which he has pronounced against you. Jeremiah 26:13. But despite all of his warnings, man has not changed. Thus God shall change their glory into shame. For the more they multiply, the more they sinned against me. I will change their glory into shame. Hosea 4:7. And mass can be defined by passive gravitational mass, which is the measure of an object attraction to a mass. And some have been attracted to the treasures of God, but others have been attracted to the treasures of the earth. And the Lord taught his disciples, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in or steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Matthew 6:19. And those who have gravitated towards God will be greatly rewarded on that day, for they have turned from the treasures of the earth and have trusted in the treasures of God. Thus their faith shall be a witness for them, and they shall be redeemed from the fire on that day. Thus blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, and whose trust is the Lord. For he will be like a tree planted by the water, that extends its roots by a stream, and will not fear when the heat comes. But its leaves will be green, and it will not be anxious in a year of drought, nor cease to yield fruit. Jeremiah 17 and 7. But those who have gravitated to the earth, their masses shall burn in the fire. The heavens will reveal his iniquity, and the earth will rise up against him. The increase of his house will depart. His possessions will flow away in the day of his anger. Job 20 and 26. Come now, you rich, weep and howl for your miseries which are coming upon you. Your riches have rotted, and your garments have become moth-eaten. Your gold and your silver have rusted, and their rust will be a witness against you, and will consume your flesh like fire. It is in the last days that you have stored up your treasure. James 5 and 1. And mass can be defined by active gravitational mass, which is the measure of the gravitational force of that mass. For all things are given gravity through the power of God's hands. For gravity is the force that gives weight to all objects, and is derived from the Latin word gravitatum, which means glory and dignity. For the heavenly bodies were given great glory and dignity. There are also heavenly bodies and earthly bodies, but the glory of the heavenly is one, and the glory of the earthly is another. There is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For star differs from star in glory. 1 Corinthians 15 and 40. And the greatest glory was given to the Son. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we saw his glory. Glory as of the only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth. John 1 and 14. And the day shall soon come when his glory is manifest. There will be signs in sun and moon and stars, and on the earth dismay among nations, and perplexity at the roaring of the sea and the waves, men fainting from fear and the expectation of things which are coming upon the world. For the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Luke 21 and 25. But gravity can also have very heavy consequences. For gravity is derived from the Latin word gravis, which means heavy. For the gravity of the earth's pull has been heavy, and now the earth reels to and fro like a drunkard, and it totters like a shaft. For its transgression is heavy upon it, and it will fall, never to rise again. Isaiah 24 and 20. And on that heavy day all things shall gravitate back towards Jerusalem. It will come about in that day that I will make Jerusalem a heavy stone for all the peoples. All who lift it will be severely injured, and all the nations of the earth will be gathered against it. Zechariah 12 and 3. And the weight of the earth shall weigh heavily upon men's hearts. For behold, my servants will shout joyfully with a glad heart, but you will cry out with a heavy heart, and you will wail with a broken spirit. Isaiah 65 and 14. And all men of flesh shall gravitate to the earth, and they shall be burned and buried in their graves. Your name will no longer be perpetuated. I will cut off idol and image from the house of your gods. I will prepare your grave, for you are contemptible. Nahum 1 and 14. Thus mass pertains to one's gravitation to a body, and our mass depends on our gravitations towards earth or towards God.